Hey there, super conscious success fam. Welcome to another episode of my podcast where I connect with spiritual leaders, starseeds, and light workers to help you to connect with your higher self and also source to discover your truth and embrace the divine that you were designed to be. This podcast is aimed at helping you to discover the light, both outside and within you, and eliminate the fear that our 3D reality and our ego insists on pushing onto us. Now, once we discover who we truly are and we live from a place of love rather than fear, then we can start to ascend into those higher dimensions. Now, today I have a fantastic guest that I'm excited to bring to you, whom I connected with instantly. Her name is Marika Nayan, and she is a fifth generational shamanic healer, as well as a results and performance coach. Now, after suffering from anxiety and depression 13 years ago, she began her own journey of self-discovery, which has led her to what she is doing today. Now, I'm going to let Marika go into this a little bit more detail. So I'm going to bring her on now. Hi, Marika. How are you going?
Hi, Jen. So good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to be chatting to you because, like I said, when we spoke, we connected instantly, and it was definitely something that I wanted to have you on the show to discuss your journey and to discuss what you're doing now. Because you, being a fifth generational shamanic healer, obviously you've been working with shamanic healing, but you also work on transformation. So I want to kind of touch a little bit on both of those. So, but before we do, can you go into your story and how you came to be doing what you're doing right now?
Yeah, for sure, Jen. Absolutely. So quite a while ago, I sort of started my self-development journey. I've always had that sort of holistic streak to the way that I handle life, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really understood where that came from until I realized the lineage in my family, past my
Yes.
grandmothers and their grandmothers. So it's actually quite a recent discovery that this runs in my family. I sort of thought I was the psychedelic sheep of the family there. Not the black sheep, the psychedelic sheep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So along my journey, I've always had this passion to help people and
Mm-hmm.
to allow people to transform and just holding that space for them so that they can create those changes in life that they really desire. So that's what led me through to the results coaching and the
Yep.
performance coaching
So what
with a
is
bit of a holistic tweak.
Yeah, so when you talk about the results of the performance coaching, can we go into that in a little bit greater depth as to exactly what it means and how, like, people, like the sort of people that you have coming to you for this particular coaching?
Absolutely. I get people from all different walks of life, all different ages, different yeah, genders, ages, and different walks of life in general. But I find that the transformational changes that they're looking are pretty much the same, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so everybody is quite similar in that regard. Um, and I believe that a lot of it stems from a lot of soul wounding. So people with old traumas, that's the thing is everybody has a lot of past trauma, whether it's from this life or a previous life, or
Yeah.
even from a different time space. You know, so a lot of these people, a lot of my clients come to me when they've got certain traumas that have sort of been hindering them for a long time, and they just
Yep.
kind of are ready to kick them in the butt. You know what I mean? Just ready to
Yep.
kick it out and just start living the life that they deserve, the one that they dream of. So the way that we do this is it's basically NLP based. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
this stems from the NLP. There's a bit of mind control technique as well from Jose
Mm-hmm.
Silva, which is one of the most popular trends of the 80s for
Yes.
self-development. So that's a big one. And it's produced some incredible effects on my clients. Yeah, it's been
Fantastic.
beautiful. It's so
And so
rewarding to
so
be able to
that's
help people.
working with more of the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And I think when you talk about soul trauma, where, like you said, it's not necessarily within this particular lifetime. And so sometimes it can be lifetimes and lifetimes ago. And I know myself, after visiting the Akashic records and visiting some of my past lives, which, by the way, I was actually a shamanic healer in one of my past lives. So I'm a lot
Yeah.
like you, where I've actually always been a healer of some sort. It's always been something that has been a part of me. It's been part of my soul. But I think that how can somebody recognize that they've had this soul trauma? Because a lot of people, they'll go, I feel like I'm lost. I feel like I don't know where I belong, but nothing has actually happened in this lifetime to cause it. How may we know that it's actually something from a previous lifetime as opposed to something that's on within this particular span of time?
Absolutely. Well, a really good clue for that, as
Hmm.
I was doing my journeying through my sort of trial and error from my 20s,
Yeah.
I learned that a lot of the things that we carry into this life
Mm.
um, isn't necessarily from this life.
Yeah.
And usually the clues for that are you sort of notice it within your behavior, your trigger points. The
Hmm.
triggers are the biggest thing that we can learn from to understand where things are coming from, why they're bothering us in that way. How long has this been bothering us? You
Hmm.
know, and is it even rational? And a lot of the times where it's not rational, um, that's followed us from a different existence, and who knows how many more.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, if the soul doesn't choose to learn the lesson, it just kind of follows you
You have
around
to,
and
and you
makes
have
the
to
lesson
redo it.
harder and more painful every time. Yeah,
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 that's the thing. I think that, yeah, once you get to the place that you can start to recognize that our soul has a journey, and
yeah,
we're in each lifetime we are here for our soul to expand and for our soul to learn the lessons that it needs to learn. And if we don't learn it in one lifetime, I'm sorry, we're coming back, we're going to learn it in another one, because
yeah.
we, all that source wants is to expand,
That's
and
right.
source does that through us. So it's, it's important that we start to, as you said, figure out what these triggers are. I realized, I started feeling this sense of like guilt and shame, which I had no
Mm,
idea where it was coming from, because it was nothing, like I hadn't done anything to that I thought would cause it or anything like that. But then when I went back and I looked at the past lives and I looked at, my Akashic records, and I realized that stuff had happened in my past life, which I was still holding on guilt from.
yeah.
And so it's important at that stage that we recognize it and we start to sort of like figure out ways to be able to let go of it. Now, if somebody is holding on to things like that, how do we start to help them to work through that so that they can finally let go of it?
Honestly, it's all
Yeah.
about awareness, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that the more aware people are of certain things about themselves, their own behaviors, the trigger points, the things that sort of cause them pain,
Yeah.
being aware of where that comes from and being aware of how it affects us is
Mm-hmm.
definitely the first step into journeying and finding out where that wounding stems from.
Yeah.
For example, in some of my coaching techniques, I actually run through a technique called soul retrieval. It's a
Yes.
closed eye process. Yeah. Um, and that one is, for those who aren't familiar with soul retrieval or the concept of it, it's that when someone goes through a traumatic experience, then a part of their soul can actually take off in an effort to protect them and keep them functioning.
Yeah.
So the damaged part takes off and leaves the rest. And with the rest, we just kind of walk through life, trudging through, not even noticing for
Pretty numb, really.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And you don't even notice until it's been so long and you're ready for that shift in consciousness. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
definitely awareness is the
Yeah.
beginning.
And I think soul retrieval is something that is such a fantastic technique to bring in, because it's all about protection.
Yeah.
And when somebody's been hurt, whether it's in a previous lifetime, whether it's in this lifetime, then the soul will try to protect itself. But what we find is that during this process, you start to become numb, you start to become
Mhm.
like you've lost a part of yourself, which you
Exactly.
have, and so you don't know where you fit in. And so I
Yeah.
think that, being able to do that. So do you do that, like, is it kind of like a hypnosis type thing? Is it kind of like as you're going through that soul retrieval process? Is that part of the shamanic healing that you do?
This is a part of the coaching that I do. The shamanic healing is kind of, um, I tend to do all of the work myself there. So with
Okay.
shamanic healing, the practitioner journeys for the person, for the client.
Okay.
Whereas with the coaching, what I do is it's the opposite. I make the client do all the work so
Yeah.
that they can learn how to heal themselves rather than needing to go to someone and have that healing performed. They can actually learn those techniques for themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's important, because we need to be able to take responsibility for where we are, and we need to be able to take the steps necessary to start to bring that happiness and fulfillment back into our life. And that means that we need to, we need to look after that soul, and we need to deal with the shadow sides. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that's something that you deal with in your coaching, is the shadow sides of us that that we often don't look at, because we're scared to look at it. But it's a part of us that we have to deal with as we go through life. So when you talk about your about transformation, you tend to talk about it as fitting into 3 different sections: connection, content, and call to action. Can you please explain exactly what you mean by that?
Absolutely. So this is a coaching, it's part of the coaching basically. So the connection is
Mm-hmm.
essentially finding someone who you can connect with, that you
Yep.
can actually understand, and who understands you to that regard. Because not everybody is a match. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So there's
Yeah.
some people that I don't work with either,
Some people
purely because
resonate
of
with different
vibrational.
people.
Exactly, that's
Yeah.
right. And I believe whoever you're meant to work with will show up.
Mm-hmm.
As we have. Look at this.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you for being sister. It's so wonderful to see
You
you.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. So the connection, basically just finding that person who really connects to your soul, that you can relate to, that can relate to you. And
And
that
I
sort of feels like someone that you've known forever. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important with a coach, because I think that, a coach is somebody that you can trust, and somebody that you can have that strong connection with, that you can talk to openly, you can talk to honestly. And I think that as you start to ascend spiritually, as you start to really evolve and expand, I think these people come to you naturally,
They
and you can
do.
use your intuition, and you know that people are going to come into your life that are there for a purpose. So be open to it, and be open to having the right coach come to you, because they will, and you'll just meet them at the strangest of times.
Yeah.
At least that's what I've found. So that's great. That's connection. And once
I
we've
think that's
once
the
we've
thing
found
that
somebody.
that's the thing they say, right?
Mm.
Once the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
I
I think
love
that's
that.
the thing, and they just turn up in your life, and you go, "Wow, where did this come from?"
Yeah, it's wonderful. The
Yeah,
universe
yeah,
linking
absolutely.
everyone together. Yeah, the content absolutely would be the all of the, or everything that is in the actual program.
Program.
So
Mhm.
everything that the person works on. So for example, everybody has different specialties.
Yes. Mhm. Yep.
So some people are relationship coaches, some are holistic coaches, um, some people are breakup or divorce coaches. I come
Yeah.
across one the other day. She was lovely. It's amazing. So everybody has a different kind of whatever their content is has to resonate with a person
Yeah,
as well. Yeah, the call to
absolutely.
action, I believe, is when the coach is such an embodiment of what you would like to achieve in your life, that you are called to take that action, that
Yeah.
they are kind of inspiring you to see the things in your life that aren't quite working out for you and that could be better, just to let you know that you could experience a higher quality of life.
Yep.
And with that understanding, you're sort of cold, like, okay, this is it, this is the thing, this is now is the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you get that feeling that I've found the right person, I'm really ready. You've got to be in that space that you're ready for that transformation,
Yes.
and you're ready to deal with some pretty vulnerable stuff, because we don't get to where we get to without having to go through a lot of things, without having to deal with that inner part of us. So you
Yeah.
have to be ready to be doing that. But I think that there are some aspects that a lot of us tend to forget about, and those are things like our values and our habits and our beliefs and our self-worth, our self-esteem, those sort of things that play a massive part in who we are as a person. What importance do you place on things like values and beliefs and that sort of thing?
Those are so important. That's
Mm.
actually the very first thing that I journey with clients in the coaching field.
Mm-hmm.
In the first week, the first thing we do is track out their values, figure
Yep.
out what's important to them. Some people don't even remember what's important to them because they've
No.
just been in survival mode for a long time. And it's just about getting to the next hour or the next day or the next week or living paycheck to paycheck or,
And how sad is
whatever
that?
distraction.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so great about what we do is just the ability that, to see the light just go off and go, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
During this whole COVID, the pandemic, it has really opened the eyes of so many people, because I believe that, it happened because we were asleep. We were
Yeah.
literally asleep and we hadn't awakened yet. And so something had to happen for us to be able to awaken and start to recognize what we truly desired to be and to
Yeah.
do.
Yes.
And so many people have, you've seen that light bulb just go off, where they've gone, I've been working in the same job for 20 years
Mm.
and I hate it, and I have finally figured out what I want to do, and it
Yes.
aligns with my values and aligns with my belief system. So go into, when we talk about values, what does values mean?
Values are basically the core drives
Mm-hmm.
that make us want to do something. The thing that creates that action for us is our values. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like some people just kind of forget. They totally forget what their values are and why they're even living a certain way anymore. And
Yep.
it's just, they get stuck in that survival and the values go out the door,
Yeah, and
you
they
know?
forget what their vision and what their mission is, and I think with the coaching, what's so great is you can start to really work with them to be able to figure out what their purpose is, figure out what their passions are, figure out what they were put here, what they were designed to do. So I think that's what's so great about the coaching. Now the belief systems, we know that belief systems play a massive part in
Mhm.
how in our actions and in what part we play in society. And so NLP is a great technique for helping with your belief systems, isn't it?
Absolutely. Just to be
Mm-hmm.
able to rewire your
Yeah.
mind in a way that's more functional and more progressive for a person,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just looping in a cycle of a trauma that they may not even be aware of that they've
Yeah.
held for so long.
Yeah.
To be able to uncover that, to dig around and just pull it out by the root and go, okay, well, this is, is this serving us anymore? Like, is this outdated? Does this
Yeah.
belong to an outdated version of ourselves? Or is this in our current reality? A lot of people don't even have that sort of, um,
That awareness.
yeah, or it's
And
like an update, when you get updates on your
yeah.
phone sort of thing. Like some people haven't updated for a long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And I mean, we've
yeah.
been we've been going through, if we look spiritually, we've been going through some serious updates lately.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
that has been causing an expansion, and you can feel that expansion. But I think that it's like belief systems are, because a lot of those beliefs aren't even ours. And this is the thing, we've inherited these belief systems from other people,
Yeah,
whether it be our parents, our teachers, our friends, that start from very early on in our life. And so with your coaching, you help them to uncover what those belief systems are,
that's
and
right.
start to realize, what are my belief systems, and if this doesn't serve me, if I'm stuck in a poverty mindset where it's all about, my belief system is I have to work a 9 to 5 job and
Mm.
I'm supposed to be getting paid this much money and I've got to live paycheck to paycheck. Well, if that doesn't serve you anymore, you can change it. you
That's
can
right,
you
that's
can
right.
totally alter it. So this is what your coaching does, right?
Yes, absolutely. So the aim of the coaching is actually not to add anything to the client whatsoever.
Yep.
It's to remove the things that don't
The
serve the
blocks.
client. Yeah,
Yep.
to remove those blockages, to release the trapped emotions that
Mm-hmm.
could be manifesting physically, yeah, or mentally
Fantastic.
even. Yeah, so that's the beautiful thing about it. It's been so rewarding to be able to help people in that way. Some of them have even started showing physical differences, because it's all connected.
Yeah.
So once you've
And you
empowered your
talk
mind.
Yeah, and you talk about the body, the mind, and the soul, and we know that that all of them are connected, and we need to give some time to each single area of our life, whether it's our body in the 3D environment, which is our vessel, whether it's our mind, where we're talking about the subconscious, and we're talking about the how we can reprogram those belief systems. And then you go to the soul, where we really deal with the spirituality side of things and really connecting with that higher part of us. And so you've been on a couple of talks lately where you've been discussing this topic.
Yeah,
And
I really hope that you're enjoying this episode, and I ask that you subscribe so that you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes that I publish from any of my different segments. So let me interrupt the show just for a moment to let you know about something amazing that I have to offer you. Firstly, if you haven't yet signed up for my free Superconscious Success Inner Circle, then definitely go ahead and do that now. However, that's not what I'm here to talk to you about. Today, I want to share with you about my brand new website called Universal Consciousness Workshops that hosts some incredible intensives all throughout the year. We have intensives for our 9-anchor transformational process, our self-empowered empath process, our 12 steps to ascension process, and many more. These 3-day online intensives are incredible and will provide you with insight that will allow you to grow and evolve as the individual you are designed to be. To discover what intensives are available right now, head across to universalconsciousnessworkshops.com/intensives and learn more. However, if you are wanting to receive 25% off both the standard and the VIP tickets for any of the intensives, then all you need to do is become a member of that Superconscious Success Inner Circle, which is absolutely free until I reach 1,000 members, at which time it will start to become premium. Get in now and you'll lock it in free for a lifetime. To sign up, just go to superconscioussuccess.com/inner circle. Okay, thanks so much for listening. Now let's head back to this episode.
so what is the connection between the body, the mind, and the soul?
Oh my gosh, that
Big
is,
question.
yeah, wow. Well, it is the connection. I mean, without one, there wouldn't be the others.
Yeah,
So it's just this beautiful sort of cyclical, energetic flow.
yeah,
Physically, you could be in your peak form, but that if you were at your peak form at one of them, then that means you're probably letting the other two down.
yeah.
And that's something in the modern society that we don't really see pointed out these days. Like when someone's really fit, they're sort of idolized, they're put on a pedestal. It's not looked into all the other things that make them unwell, or the other
Yeah,
things that could use healing, because physically they're in tip-top form. So
yeah, yeah. They work out
yeah,
every day. They eat pretty
that's
well,
right.
and
And
that's
it's the
great.
same with intellectuals.
Yeah, their
It's
vessel's
exactly
in a
the same
good
with
place.
intellectuals.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. If someone's got their mind working in top form and they're totally neglecting their physicality, again, they're totally unhealthy. So it's just about finding that balance between the three to maintain
yeah,
that useful flow of energy,
yeah.
to keep us progressive and moving forward.
Absolutely. And I think you can't have, like you said, you can't have one without the other. It's, in order for us to be at our spiritual best, then our vessel also has to be healthy.
Absolutely.
And our mind has to be sharp and healthy. And so I think that's fantastic. And I think that the transformational process that you do is really beneficial. Do you include anything for, like, physically for the body within that transformation, or do you like to work with fitness and nutrition and that sort of stuff as well?
I love that.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I am passionate about.
Yep.
But you know what? When it comes to working with the body, I find
Yeah.
the body follows suit to the mind and the
Yeah.
spirit. So
Absolutely.
when your mind and your spirit is in a healthy, happy place, your body, it's so hard to pick up any diseases like colds or flus,
Yeah.
Just like when you're buzzing, when you're in that sort of high vibe energy all the time, you'll notice that you don't really get sick.
Yeah,
Everyone else
absolutely. I
around
don't
you will
know.
have a runny nose, or everyone, like, I still have not had COVID. I haven't.
No,
It's
me
the way
either. And
everybody
I've
I know.
yeah, and it's funny because I say the same thing. I say, well, like, my daughter's had it after she went, clubbing, after she turned 18 and went clubbing. She got it, but my husband and I, we're still free from it. My son's still free from it. And I think that, a lot of it comes to the mind. Do we
That's right.
believe that our body is able to fight off whatever comes at it? Do
Absolutely.
we honestly trust that our soul and our spirit is in that space, that it's not going to allow? Because illness is not an option. And I've always said illness is not an option. I've got too much to do on this planet, that's not an option for me. But it's hard for people to understand, because we have been brought up in this 3D environment where disease is put in front of us every single day. And so we start to believe that whole illusion. We start to believe that that's the normal way of being. I mean, how many times have we been told that once you get old, you're expected to go into a nursing home?
That's right.
Because it's belief systems.
Yeah.
It's what people have seen. So yeah, so
100%.
I totally get it. Now I want to go a little bit into shamanism, because I love shamanic healing, and it's something that I think can really play a positive part in the whole healing aspect of it. But before we get into that, can you explain to people exactly what is shamanic healing?
Okay. So shamanism is often associated with indigenous and tribal societies. It usually involves the belief that the shamans with a connection to the other world have the power to heal the sick, to communicate with the spirits and escort souls of the dead to the afterlife. So shamans are the most notable of multiple religious figures present in traditional Aboriginal religion. They function as healers, prophets, diviners, and custodians of religious mythology. In every village, there's at least one shaman. To be a shaman is to be chosen by spirit.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what age, what sex, to become a shaman. When chosen, the person goes through a long illness and usually has to accept their fate. So it's a kind of like a dark night of the soul. But yeah, everyone has their own different versions. Everybody has whatever they're going through. And the journey on the other side can be a long one.
And I mean, and it's a hard time. I mean, the dark nights of the soul can be a very dark time, as I realized last year. But at the end of that journey, is awakening. At the end of that journey is a really enlightened experience. And so it's an opportunity for us to dig deep and to figure out who we are, and to deal with those shadow sides, and to deal with what's going on internally. And so I think it's something that most of us at some point will go through, but we can really grow and expand throughout the process. So that's shamanism. With the shamanism, they talk a lot about different spirits, being the spirit guides and also the power animals. And so are these the two main types of categories that are included within shamanism?
There are so many different kinds of guides that we can call in when we're working in the other world. A lot of this is everybody has different ones. You know, some people, based on your belief system as well, might call in angels, for example, archangels, angels, guides like that. Some people might be calling in specific deities. Some people might be calling in just spirit animals or ancestors. You know, so it depends on you.
Depends on the person.
And whatever guides are around you. Typically, they say that there's about somewhere from 8 to 9 guides. You know, so it can be quite like, for a long time I didn't understand, and I was like, I don't think I've got any guides. I don't know. I don't hear them. And I realized after a fair bit of journeying is that I'm constantly hearing them. And it makes me very flitty. It makes me kind of go from here to there and focusing on different things at once. But it's because I've got about eight spirit guides around me constantly, just whispering in my ear, sort of flitting around and giving me downloads of information of how to use my capabilities and abilities.
I love the downloads. It's once you get to that place that your spirit guides, your higher self, your angels, you know, I talk to my angels every day, that they actually start to give you messages and give you hints, and you know, you look at synchronicities that start to happen, and you look at and it's exciting. It's just like, you know, I'm always seeing 11 on everything, every
Yeah,
time I look at the clock.
too.
And then I might see, you know, if something else is going on in your life or in your belief system or in your mind, if you're starting to move a little bit negative as such, then your angels will come in and they'll maybe give you a 33 and say, okay, snap out of it. It's, you know, you don't need to be focusing on that. So there's lots of different things that the angels will put in front of you, feathers and all sorts of things.
Feathers,
yeah, feathers, butterflies. Oh my gosh, if I'm in a really high vibe place and I'm going for a walk, there'll be butterflies everywhere, and it just reinforces that they're there with you.
That's right. Yeah.
And we've always got them with us. And the thing is, I think that every single one of us have spirit guides, whether it's people that have been in our life before, whether it's the ascended masters, the angels, the spirit animals. We've all got those around us, but our mind is so busy, we don't take time to stop and listen.
Exactly.
And I think that's the problem. So how would you recommend that somebody then quietens down their mind a little bit so that they can actually start to listen to these messages that are trying to be told to them?
You know, I actually
went
through this exact thing in my early 20s where I just I kept getting all these messages, but I was so filled with distractions. My head was just so filled with distractions, you know, at that age, everything. Man-made distractions all around us. So to rid the distractions, eliminating our distractions, have our priorities sort of set out, like, for example, making time to sit in stillness. You know, even just as simple as downloading an app that reminds you to be mindful. You know, just little things like that. Make space in your day. Just a little bit of space is better than no space at all. If you're a very busy person. But just taking that time for yourself.
And I think, don't you agree that I think one of the biggest ways that you can do this is by remaining present? And I think that so many of us, we focus so much on the past, or we worry so much about the future, that we forget that there is only ever the now, that there's only ever the present that exists. And so you can be mindful for every second of every day, just by recognizing that you can't change the past. There's no point worrying about the future. I am where I am. How am I going to enjoy where I am right now as much as I possibly can? And I've told people, I've said, look, if you're not happy in the job that you're in, but you have to be there because at the moment you're financially, that's on your cards, then at least try to find something that makes you enjoy your job. I mean, I can go and do the dishes or do the washing and still enjoy it, because I can get into that place of presence. I can put my, you know, favorite podcasts on or whatever, and you can stay present at that moment rather than going, oh, I've got to do the dishes again. Oh, I'm so sick of the dishes.
Exactly it. That's what causes most of the suffering in this world, is people are unhappy with where they are. And they haven't surrendered to this is something they're going to have to do. And this is something that's just going to have to, the sooner you get over it, the sooner you carry on and do it, the sooner it'll be done, and you'll have space for the next project and more time to do something else that you'd like to do. But yeah, people get really carried away with that, I feel.
Absolutely.
That causes a lot of disharmony within us. So it gives us so much distaste for what's going on, and people tend to fall into that trap of, this sucks, you know, there's something else. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to. That's a choice you're making in that moment and continue to make in the future.
Exactly. And if you're present, like you're doing the dishes and you're present, then you will literally, like I'll literally focus on the bowl that I'm washing, or focus on what I'm doing, which allows you to then stay in that split second moment, as opposed to thinking about something else going on. And that's really important, because that's when you can actually tap into those spirit guides. The amount of downloads I get when I'm in complete presence is crazy. It's like, and sometimes, like, I'll be in the car and I'll be driving along, and then all of a sudden I'll be listening to music because, you know, some nice music. All of a sudden I'll get a download, turn the music off. So I'll turn the music off, and then the downloads start flooding in, because what they've said is, we need quiet right now. I've got something I need to tell you. And so if you listen to those messages, you can connect at that point, and you can go, okay, this is when I'm going to get the most downloads. And this is why when you're in the shower, have you noticed this,
Yeah.
Marika?
Oh
When
my
you're in the
God, yeah. Or bath, like, a lot of my channeling and my
Yeah.
downloads are always in a bath, somewhere where I'm surrounded in water.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And if you're in the shower, and I just realized this, and you're in the shower and you're under the shower, you're opening up your crown chakra
Yeah.
because the water's tapping onto your crown chakra. So it's opening it
Yeah.
up, which means that you're getting downloads. And this is why we get so many great ideas when we're in the shower. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's nothing to write it down. So you've got to remember. But I think they've come out now with stuff you can put on the wall, like notepads that you can put on the wall of the shower. So you can write down.
I need one of those.
Yeah. So so I think that's really important. Take that time to be present. Now, Marika, as part of the shamanic traditions, through my research on shamanic healing, there was three main causes that they said of mental, emotional, and physical illness, being disharmony, fear, and soul loss. Now, soul loss is what you're talking about before, right? Where part of your soul has sort of like removed itself.
Absolutely. That's kind of like a be all and end all, sort of like in that perception. The reason the soul goes is because it seems safer to do that. It's a protection method, almost.
So is this kind of like when our ego has taken over? Our ego's taken over at that point, and then the soul's just kind of like started to move away.
It's kind of like I suppose the soul is trying to protect the rest of the being by disappearing. So it takes that fragmented part of itself and just goes, if I go in that dark corner, maybe you'll be okay. And it's a journey to go and find that, like to actually find that dark corner where it's disappeared to.
So this is where we classify as the shadow side. This is the part of us that has actually moved away, that has actually decided that it was going to, the disharmonious type of part of us that we need to heal. So that was another one, was the disharmony and the power loss. So can you explain what that means?
Absolutely. So when we're in disharmony with the world around us, when something's just really not right, I think that's where the term dis-ease comes from. It's from not being at ease with the world around us, being at disharmony, and it creates that physical illness, within us. So, and that's another thing when people stay in a situation for too long and relinquish their power. So when they give their power away to a situation that doesn't serve them, a person that doesn't serve them.
So we're talking about things like energy vampires, narcissistic abuse, that sort of thing. Yeah,
that's right. And that can be as simple as having a friend that always needs something from you, but never is there to give you something when you're down. So it's as simple as keeping that person in your life. That can lead to the power loss,
toxic people power. And
that's right, because you're allowing that to be around. So the soul sort of responds in the same way, like, okay, I'll just go over here until you want to hear me. And we just function without for a long time sometimes.
Well, no, it's so true. And I think that once we can get into true harmony with the world around us, with the people around us, we're careful of the people that we allow into our lives, because that is our choice. And yes, sometimes we have to let go of people that we didn't want to let go of. It's just part of life. But I can totally understand why the soul would be doing that. And then the third thing that the shamans talk about is fear. Now, this is something that we all deal with at some point. And so go a little bit into fear and how we may be able to, or how that kind of works alongside the other two principles.
Yeah, the way that I see it, fear is the opposite of love. So to live in your natural state, which is love, which is bliss, which is joy, to be vibrating at the vibrating on fear is
Yeah.
so far away from where we're supposed to be. It's a complete disharmony. It's almost the opposite end of the scale.
Yeah.
So when
And
people
as
live
a,
out of fear, make fear-based choices, then they're not
Mhm.
actually allowing themselves to be in homeostasis, to be in balance, and to be back to the way that they came here.
Exactly.
It's very disharmonious.
And
Yeah.
I think it comes down to a lack of trust and a lack of faith. Because I think if we had full faith that things were going to turn out for us, there would be no fear. We would know that life was about love. We'd know that life was about expansion. We'd know that life was about the journey, and would know that no matter what came into our life, it was for our own good. It was for our own benefit.
Yeah, it happens for us, not to us.
Exactly. Because let's face it, how much of our society is living in victimization right now?
Yeah.
Everything that's happened has happened against me or to me, rather than it's happened for me to be able to expand. It's happened for me to be able to grow, and we create our own realities. So if we don't like something, we can change it.
That's right.
But that comes down to a lot of inner work, right?
And if we can't change it, then we can change our perception.
Our
about
perception
it.
of it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like you can either see something as a glass half full or something as a glass half empty. We have the choice.
Exactly. That's right.
And perception is such a big thing. Because like you said, what one person sees as a flaw is probably something that somebody else sees as a benefit. This is the thing that we need to sort of like focus on as well. So wow, that's powerful. I think that fear is also worrying about the future.
That's right. And I think it was Lao Tzu who said that if you're anxious, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future.
Exactly.
He did. Right. People aren't being present, and that's creating this disharmony in their minds. It's giving them, different forms of disease because they're not being present with what's in front of them and appreciating with gratitude.
Well, that's the thing, because when you are anxious or living in the future or living in the past and you're not present, then you're not able to tap into all those things that are happening either, because your mind is constantly focused on other things. So I think that's great. I think that we really need to, if we could all manage to figure out how we could manage our fears and we could work through them and we could start to recognize that we have unlimited untapped potential there and there's nothing to worry about because everything will be okay, then I think that we would live in a much happier society for sure.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you, if somebody was to go to you for shamanic healing, because you do the transformational coaching and you do some shamanic healing as well. Now, if they were to go to you for that, what would a shamanic healing session look like?
So a shamanic healing session for me incorporates quite a few different elements to use for that healing. So I tend to use my spirit guides. So I'll call in my guides. I'll call in anyone who wants to be present for the greater good of myself and the person in front of me and the world around us.
Yep.
I'll call in the angels. I'll call in the four corners, and then I'll start to use mantra. Yeah, like Sanskrit mantra to just to clear some energy. I'll use singing bowls. I'll use crystals, gridding, things like that. Reiki as well.
Nice.
Symbols. Yeah, there's a few different things that I like to use. I use different forms of animals as well sometimes. So I use feathers in my healing. Sometimes I'll use bones. It depends completely on what I feel the person needs.
Yeah.
So the tools that I use are always completely dependent on the person,
on the individual person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, we're all different. We're all different biologically and biochemically. So what's going to work for one person isn't going to work for somebody else. So, so you really have to use your intuition and your feeling about each individual client and what's going to benefit them. So
yeah, that's exactly it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, session usually goes for about an hour, I'd say. Sometimes more, sometimes more. Some people need more.
Yeah. And what can they?
Traditionally, it goes for an hour.
Okay, cool. And what can they expect to sort of like what can they sort of expect to feel at the end of a session?
Oh wow. You know what? Honestly, everybody perceives energy so differently,
Mm.
and also has such different needs within their body.
Mm-hmm.
For example, one of my clients, she says every time she has a session with me, um, she she goes, "Oh, every time I have a session with you, I shit myself." She goes, "It's because I've got like it's because I've got bowel problems and I'm
Yeah.
always constipated." So she goes,
So
"I
once you're
literally
moving it,
clears me out." She goes, "It just clears me out." So for her, that's what she
that's
needs. Not
awesome.
all my clients shit themselves, so please don't think that if you come to me, you're going to shit yourself.
It,
That's not what
it
I'm saying.
depends on what you're trying to heal.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
So everybody has a different way to
Response.
perceive this energy. That's right. Some people feel the vibration. Some people feel the heat and the cold and the change in temperature around different parts of their body. Some people
Yeah.
feel it like a buzzing or a vibration. I had someone say it felt like lightning the other day,
Oh,
like when I put
wow.
my
Okay.
hands over the top of them. I'd never touch people in the healing sessions.
Yeah.
I think that it makes it very clear for the person what they're experiencing
Yeah.
if I'm not touching them. You know what I mean? As
Mm-hmm.
opposed to if you put your hand on someone and they go, "I think it was warm, but I'm not sure." I
Yeah.
like to eliminate that just
Let the
by allowing
energy
the
do
energy
the
to
work.
work through, and they can perceive it how they see it. Yeah, but some people
Nice.
even see colors as it moves through their chakras. So it depends on the way that your perception works as well. Mm.
Beautiful, beautiful. What
Yeah.
an awesome experience. Definitely something that I think I'm going to try. I have to say I have not been to a shamanic healing session, but maybe next time I'm over East, I'll come and see you and have a session with you.
I would love that, Jen. I
Oh, that
really
would be
would.
so
I'd be
much
so
fun.
honored.
Yeah,
I'd
that
be
would be
so
so much
honored.
fun.
Yeah, then we can hang
Also,
out some more.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We'll party. Um, so if somebody would like to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do this?
Okay, so they can find me on social media. You can find me
Yes.
under Marika J. Nayan. I'm on, I think, all the platforms at the moment. So there's TikTok, there's LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram as well, and I've got
Mm-hmm.
pages on Facebook. My
Yes.
website is www.marikajnayan.com.
Awesome.
Yeah,
It'll all be in the show notes, so I'll put them in the show notes so that when the podcast is published, you'll be able to see all of this. And
wonderful.
so, and she also has some beautiful crystals that that she actually makes. So, what is the website address for your crystals?
Thank you. It's also on the Marika J. Nayan one. So it's basically just in a shop tab there, and it'll have the
Okay.
Crystal Tricks tab on the side. I'm actually wearing the piece
Yeah.
today. So I'm wearing this one. It's a
Beautiful.
Larimar. It's
Oh,
a Larimar with turquoise, a little
yeah.
turquoise accent. I do love it.
She's got some absolutely beautiful stuff there. I went and had a browse before, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to buy? I'm going to buy that. I'm going to buy
Thank
that.
you. I
so
infused them with
so
shamanic.
yeah,
Oops. I
no.
infuse
Oh,
them with shamanic energy as well. So I give them a little bit of I clear them out at the
yeah,
beginning. So I clear them out. I surround them with singing bowls and grid them with other crystals, and then I just sort of instill that shamanic energy in there. So the healing goes further. A lot of
beautiful.
people love shiny things,
Yes.
but not a lot of people invest in their soul. So I'm just going to throw it in there as a freebie.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. I think it's really great to charge these things with some real positive energy. So that
Yeah.
when you're wearing it, and you do notice the difference, you can feel the difference as you're wearing them. So so definitely check out Marika's site and check out her jewelry because she's got some really beautiful stuff there. So and she makes it herself. So, you know, it's kind of
Made
like
with
a
love.
passion of hers. Yeah, it's like a little hobby that she loves. So, so thank you so much for being here with me today, Marika. It was so great to talk to you again, and we definitely have to keep in touch.
You're so welcome, Jen. It was absolutely such a pleasure. Thank you for
Okay,
having me.
thanks, Marika. Bye.